Yes, that's right. I'm actually back. After a prolonged period of silence, I am, well, going to break aforementioned silence because something really, really got on my nerves today. And I feel as though it is time to share it with all of you because that is what I am wont to do. Open up about things that are on my mind and going to try to impart upon you some of the nuisances that plague me on a day to day basis. And today, one of said nuisances is going to be the term they mean well. This is a term that people use to sort of justify the behavior of someone else when they do something that really just either gets on your nerves or it just seems like it's completely out of left field and like no sane human being should ever act like this. Honest to God, it's just an excuse. You can't say that someone means well when they don't do well. I might be, in the minority here, but I don't think that that term really means anything. I don't think it does anything for anyone. Like if someone if someone says something that's extremely offensive, but they had a message behind it that could only be deciphered by some people who weren't looking at face value at the offensive message that they had just delivered, the term that they meant well doesn't do anything for the person who was just offended. It's like saying that when someone runs into your car, oh, they meant well because they didn't mean to run into your car. Doesn't mean that there's not a dent still there. It doesn't mean that their insurance company doesn't need to get involved. It's not an excuse. It's not a get out of jail free card to say that someone had their motives, their heart, or their intentions in the right place. It doesn't do anyone any favors, and these excuses are honestly just annoying. There'll be an extremely annoying person that's always in your business, always in the way, acting like they somehow are never at fault for any of the things that they do because their heart is in the right place, and people just keep making excuses for them. It doesn't make any sense because they mean well. How do you know that? Has this person ever done anything to truly show that they are in the right in any way, shape, or form? They probably haven't, because everyone just keeps making excuses for them, so they keep acting the way that they do. There's been no actual display of well-intentioned actions. They don't do anything for you, and honestly, people just perpetuate this system. And this plays into the whole media aspect of this podcast because this happens a lot when people try to do their little apologies on social media, like when they offend a large group of people, and then they, after all the backlash comes out, they release a statement or a video of some kind, and they say that their heart was in the right place, they didn't mean to offend anyone, they're sorry if people were offended, which, by the way, is one of the worst apologies you can offer someone. It's one of the most backhanded apologies. It's cowardly. If you say that, if you're apologizing, you say, I'm sorry that you were offended by what I said. That's not an apology. It's you're placing the blame on someone else and acting as if it's not your fault that they got offended, but you're sorry that they were offended. Sorry that you're basically saying, I'm sorry that you have emotions. Are you kidding me? That's so cheap and lazy. But anyway, claiming that your heart was in the right place when you did something stupid or offensive doesn't make it okay. Because no one knew where your heart was, and all you did was create hurt. You think that you saying where you were coming from or justifying what you had said or done is going to take that feeling away from people and make them forget and be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter what they did. They meant well. It happened a long time ago, but it's exactly like Logan Paul did, essentially, acting like he was trying to bring awareness to suicide by filming a dead body in a forest, saying that his heart was in the right place. Your heart was not in the right place. You were not in the right place. Your camera wasn't in the right place, but your mind was definitely just at the bank right then because you thought that you were going to get views. And your lazy apology was seen through by many people, but somehow the children that still follow you don't see through it, and they're still buying into whatever nonsense you're selling them. So, as long as you can live with that, I guess that you're going to continue to do that, but people with brains aren't going to pay attention anymore because you have blown your shot. You used your platform to promote something that was ugly, that was disgusting, and that was offensive to so many different people, but it didn't cross your mind for a second how many people you were hurting because you just wanted the numbers. And that is the reason why your heart was not in the right place and you did not mean well. So that your apology is completely void of any actual substance. But I think that the media has created kind of a horrible cycle. Like it's at a point where people say something and they can be almost immediately like censored by the people for it, like because it's just so instant, it's so immediate. But then in the same vein, they can use the same media to try to justify their actions and claim that they meant well and claim that they were coming from a specific place and try to use the media to like curry favor for their apology. And the fact that we just keep letting it happen. If you ever fall down the rabbit hole of scrolling through the replies on Twitter on a specific apology tweet, you see people who are so willing to forgive the offenders, and you'll see people who are staunchly in their places saying, "I will literally never budge on my opinion of you as a horrible person." And that is just it's such a stark contrast. Honestly, it baffles me. Because sometimes what people do is inexcusable, but there's just a willingness to forgive them because they were charming before, and you want to believe that their heart was in the right place when they did something. But you don't know them. How can you claim that their heart was in the right place? What? Because they showed you a funny, charming side of themselves whenever their camera was on, or whenever they were tweeting something before? Well, obviously, you're going to think that they're charming because they only presented one side of themselves to you. But the second that another uglier side presented itself, you're so quick to just completely forget about that. It's ridiculous. How in the world are you ever going to formulate a real connection with someone, a real relationship with someone, if you're only looking at one side of them and completely forgetting that there even exists a semblance of folly in that person? That's what makes us people. You can't canonize people every single step of the way. And that's essentially what the phrase, "they mean well," does for people. It just makes them completely invincible to any sort of repercussions that could come to them, and it's disgusting. We should be holding each other accountable, and we should be helping each other grow and learn from the mistakes that we make. We can't just keep saying that people are coming from the right place, but their delivery was just subpar or below average or just downright horrible. Especially the famous people that I again am saying that we don't know. You've never actually interacted with this person. They are presented in a certain way, and that's how they got famous. That's how they stay famous. They're faces to you. They are not people. Yet you're going to create an entire image of someone based on the things that they presented to you and not look at the full picture. And that's ugly. The fact that you'll go to extreme lengths to justify their actions is ugly. I'm not trying to sound like a pessimist here, and I'm not saying that people aren't actually coming from the right place, but the whole term that "they mean well" doesn't do anything for a single person. And it honestly, most of the time, doesn't mean anything because your actions were completely different. They diverted completely from what you've done. So, I don't know. That phrase has just never meant anything to me, and I think that people are going to keep using it, especially as we continue to use the media. But for future reference, if you're growing, especially if you're a teenager, and people keep using this phrase to describe you, then you need to do something about the way that you are acting, because this is the first sign. Like, this is a telltale sign that you are just kind of lacking as a human being, and you're lacking any opportunity for growth, and you're honestly a static character who people are always going to be making excuses for until one day they don't, and you'll be left alone, and honestly, you'll have nothing at that point. You won't understand where you went wrong, and you'll think you'll be treated unfairly. And honestly, you would have been, because no one ever put you in your place, but it's at the same time, it's your own fault. So the message is to just grow and stop using excuses for yourselves and for others. See ya.